Hey, what's up, YouTubers? And welcome back to another Toddy Walnuts update video. This is going to be a very short video because I didn't pick much up the past few weeks. And some of the stuff that I ordered, I have a tracking number for. I think there's like 5 or 6 items in transit right now. And I checked the tracking numbers and they have not moved since late March. They haven't moved an inch, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. Rather than wait for those items, I will just throw those in the next update video. I'll just show you guys what I got now, just to make a video. I'm bored, and maybe you guys are bored too and you want something to watch. Hopefully that's what you guys want to do. I have a stack of VHS tapes that I've been picking up lately. That's kind of my new kick. I've been grabbing some VHS tapes at really cheap prices. I think now is a good time to start getting some of the stuff that I had sold over the years as I was getting into the DVD and Blu-ray stuff. And of course I will still be in the DVD and Blu-ray stuff, but it's kind of good to go back and buy some retro stuff that you liked, you know, as a kid or as you're growing up. So I think I will start with the VHS pile. I think I have 3 Blu-rays to show, and I have a couple Texas Chainsaw Massacre editions, which I showed already in a collection video, but these were part of the update for this month. I do have a Laserdisc, and I have a couple albums, some old school albums that I have from the 70s, and I will show those last. So first, let's get into the VHS tapes. And the first one, actually the first 2, I showed these in a different video, the Texas Chainsaw Collection overview video, but I got these recently, like within the last 2 weeks. So I do want to include them here in this video, but this is the 1993 edition. That's when this was released. This is the original Tobe Hooper classic from 1974. And I had this VHS when I was a kid. I sold it a long time ago, but I'm trying to pick some of this stuff up. You can get these, you know, on eBay. And if you look, and if there's certain ones that you're looking for, and if you're patient, you can get these for $3, $4, $5. I mean, it all depends on the condition as well. You know, I like to get stuff that's as close to mint as possible. But there's stuff that's beat up out there you can probably get for a couple bucks. And then again, there's some that are sealed and never been opened, you know, since 1993, and those might go for $25. So it all depends what you're looking for. I think this was probably about $6, $7, which is nothing, you know. So, and then this was a earlier release from Video Treasures. I would like to get the media release at some point. I think that was even older than this one. This VHS was from 1988. That's when they released this one. And I love that image there on the front. Sally's face in the background. And just look at the menacing look on Leatherface. That's horrifying. The bloody, that's pretty cool. Whoever did that artwork is amazing. The bloody chainsaw looks really cool. Just a menacing figure coming towards you. Next one I got is the 1984 classic Wes Craven. Robert Englund plays Freddy Krueger in A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the media release. I would like to get the media release of Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. This one is in really good shape too. There were some that were in better shape, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on these VHS tapes. These are more or less going to be kind of displays on a shelf type thing. I don't need $25, $30 VHS tapes just for display. But a classic movie, and that's the original. There's different covers. This is the one I wanted. This is the original poster art. So I wanted to make sure I got that one. There's a couple different covers. The next one is a movie. Maybe some of you guys have seen this. Maybe some of you haven't. This is a movie I saw as a kid. It's called The Clown Murders. It stars a very young John Candy. This is a Canadian horror film. I think in today's standards, this would probably be panned. It's not a very good movie, but I have good memories of it, so I wanted to pick this up. John Candy, I think this was his third leading role ever as an actor. I think he was 25 years old when this movie came out. When was this? 75. The movie came out. John Candy was 25 years old at the time. And you can watch this for free on YouTube. It's a very poor quality. There's a DVD out of this. It's never been on Blu-ray. The DVD is out of print. I think Elite Entertainment put that out. And I think the cheapest I've seen it, and it's in pretty bad condition for the DVD, is like 35 to 50 bucks. So I'm not sure I'm ever going to pick that up. I would like to, but probably by the time I pick up a $35 DVD that's used and beat up, a Blu-ray will be coming out. So I'm going to hold off on that. But again, this is not a great movie. It's a good movie for me, in my opinion, because I have memories of it. If you guys are interested in checking it out, it's free here on YouTube. Go check it out. And it's a slasher movie. It's about a prank that goes wrong. I'm not going to give too many details away about it, but there's three guys that are playing a prank on one of their friends' wives, and something bad happens, and there's a death that occurs, and they find out that a killer clown is on the loose. But the three guys that played the prank were dressed up as clowns, so there's kind of like a little twist. You guys might want to check this out. It's called The Clown Murders. And that cover's pretty cool. This was released in 1987 by Interglobal Video. And back in those days, in the VHS days, there was several releasing companies. Some were pretty popular and well known, and some were kind of fly by night. Now the next one we have is a classic, of a favorite of a lot of people. And you can't really have a collection without this movie. Whether it be VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, you have to have this movie. And this is George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, the movie that started it all, the zombie craze. And this is the original uncut, unedited classic with the classic cover. I'm going to give you guys a little information too about these cases that I keep them in, these little protectors. I'll do that at the end here. In case you're interested in protecting your DVDs as well. This was a release from 1990 from, what was it called? Good Times? Yeah. Oops, I don't know if you can see that. Good Times. If you guys remember back in the 80s when VHS tapes were really popular, stores like Target or Kmart, Shopko, stuff like that, they would have like the little islands by the checkout counters, and they would have a bunch of tapes in them. And they would have tapes for like $7.99, $9.99. But in the early to mid 80s, some of these VHS tapes were like 35 to 60 bucks. I mean, they were really expensive back in the day, but by late 80s, early 90s, these were very affordable and very cheap. You can get these for like $9.99 back then. And now they're collectible again. So then we have, let me go in order here. Then we have Dawn, which is the second in the Dead trilogy, the original Dead trilogy. There have been some more since, but these are the original three. And that's the way I like to look at it, kind of like the original trilogy for Star Wars. There have been others since, but I still consider it the original trilogy. But we won't get into that right now. But again, I wanted to get this is the Anchor Bay and Video Treasures release of the film, and I wanted to get this original cover. There's several, probably dozens of different covers for Dawn of the Dead. But I wanted this original image, the same as the poster art there. I wanted to get that original image. And this was released 1996. And then I have two editions of Day of the Dead. This is the one I really like. This one is still sealed. And this is the third in the Dead trilogy, Day of the Dead. Even though it's still sealed, I don't know if you can see the shrink wrap. I still put a protective sleeve on it just so it looks the same on the shelf. Again, it's a Anchor Bay Video Treasures. This was released in 1997. There's Bub. And the last VHS is also Day of the Dead. I like this cover too. Wanted to pick it up. I'm not going to go all crazy on VHS. I'm not going to get like duplicates and all that, unless it's a movie I really like the cover for. But like I say, I'm not going to go crazy on these editions. Just going to pick these up here and there for a good cheap price. And that's in really good condition too. Always make sure you do your research if you're looking into this stuff. Sometimes sellers are pretty sneaky too. They'll list this movie and they'll take one picture of it and that's from the front, and then they'll give you the description. It looks good. They're giving you their opinion of what it is. It looks good. But they won't show you the back, and sometimes the back has stickers or tears or a chunk missing. So if you see it from the front and there's only one picture, just send them a message and say, hey buddy, what does the side look like? Can you take a couple more pictures? And because I've done that a few times, and then the guy will say, oh, there's a coffee stain on the back, but you didn't tell me that. You didn't list that. You would have sold it to me, and by the time I got it, there would have been me trying to send it back and you sending me the money and a headache. And I mean, people are a little bit funny when they list stuff like this, so just be a little bit leery about that, especially eBay. Those guys are crooks out there. Not all of them. There's some really good sellers that have been doing it for a long time. Don't get me wrong, but there's some guys, a couple guys will ruin it for a lot of people. So I sound like I'm mad because I've been burned a couple times. So getting into the next release, here is a Blu-ray, and everybody's probably saying, what? That's been out for 10 years now. And it has. I never owned the Blu-ray of it. I do have the DVD. And now I have the Blu-ray. I think I paid $7 for this now. This is from Blue Underground, The Prowler, a very solid slasher. Some people put it in their top 10. I don't know if I would. I think it's a good solid slasher. I don't think it's a great slasher. See, there's one of the slasher genre's finest moments. It's good. It's not great, in my opinion. But this is a good release, and now that I have the Blu-ray, they're probably going to come out with a 3-disc set with the soundtrack, and guess what? I'll probably buy it. Because I'm a sucker like that. But the next one's from Arrow Video, Deadly Manor. This is a Spanish horror film. It was probably one of the slowest burns for a horror film I've ever watched. And the payoff at the end was not worth the slow burn. I was disappointed in the movie. This is a Jose Larraz movie. It was shot beautifully. The haunted house, it wasn't really a haunted house, but there was a lot of weird things that were happening in this house. It's a slasher. It's a very weak slasher film. I probably won't watch this again, to be honest with you guys. I think the edition's great. The picture quality was beautiful. It looked really, really good. But the acting was not very good. The storyline was not good at all. The killer didn't really look that cool to me. It just wasn't. It just didn't really do it for me. But I'll say a couple good things about it. The release is spectacular. Arrow Video, I mean, they could even take a turd like this and polish it up and look like a diamond. And I do love slasher films, and this is a slasher film I've never seen before, so I'm glad that I do had the chance to watch this. So those are a couple good things that came out of this. There's a reversible cover. That's the killer right there. Pretty weak. Comes with the booklet. Flip through it real quick. See what I mean? This is cool. This is better than the movie was. This little book here, and the reversible cover, and If anybody out there who's watching this, if you've seen this, tell me what you thought about this. Am I being too hard on it, or am I right on the head with this? It was a slow burn for a weak payout at the end. That's my opinion on it. You tell me if I'm wrong. If I get a lot of people telling me I'm wrong, I'll go back and watch it again, and maybe there's things that maybe I wasn't in the good mood that time, or maybe I need to watch it again and give it a reevaluation if that's the case. But here's another one. This is a comedy, and I don't buy too many comedy movies. This is another one I watched as a kid. And in my early 20s, I worked in a record shop, a music shop. One of my buddies at the time owned it with another friend of his, a mutual friend of ours. And I worked there part-time. I had another full-time job at that time. And I worked in his record shop for a couple hours a night. And I closed up. And that was one of the funnest times of my life, working in a record shop. It was records, CDs, tapes at the time. This was probably late 90s, mid to late 90s. So cassette tapes were on the way out. CDs were huge. And we still had records at that time. We were selling posters, everything, T-shirts. It was called CD Exchange, and then it was called Disco Round. And I only did that for about like a year and a half. And then I ended up getting a really good job, and I couldn't. Anyway, that's a different story. But this is a comedy movie from Scorpion Releasing called Record City. And this is a movie I haven't seen for a long, long time. It came out in 1977. And it's about all the comedy that ensues in a record shop here. There's a lot of big-name celebrities from the 70s that are in here. Rick Dees is in here. I think Wolfman Jack is in here. Alice Ghostly, she played in Bewitched. Ted Lang from Love Boat. Ruth Buzzy is in here. There's a lot of 70s faces you'll recognize. And this is a good comedy. And this would be a good twin pack for me with Car Wash with Richard Pryor, Daddy Rich. And I do plan on picking that up too. I think Shout Factory put that out. And I'll be getting that. But this is a good movie, good comedy. So I haven't opened it up yet. And I picked up this Steelbook, even though I showed it a couple days ago. I want to show it here. I'm going to open it up and we'll do an unboxing here. This is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Steelbook from Turbine in Austria. And this is a very limited edition. I think it was limited to 3,000. I got number 1663. This is the little J card that comes with it. Take a look at the Steelbook. These are stacked. This is a 3-disc set. They had this stacked upside down on top of that. It says that's the film. Here's the 4K. And here are the bonus materials with that same image we saw on the VHS tape. Nothing really, I mean, it's nice. It's not anything we haven't seen before, but I like to pick up the different editions from my favorite horror movie of all time, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. Put that off to the side. I'm going to show you guys a couple of protective cases in case you want to order anything at the end. We're going to get to that in a little bit here. This was new to the collection. I hadn't had Michael Bay's 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Blu-ray until recently. And the last time I watched it was on DVD, so I have yet to watch that on Blu-ray. This was a release from Germany, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And this was a German release of Michael Bay's Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003. A little tongue-tied there, but now, before we get into the vinyl, and then we'll call it a video, I use these little slip cases, these little plastic cases. for any of my Steelbooks, some of the digibooks will fit in there, and the media books, some won't. There are different sizes for those. And the Vinegar Syndrome slipcases fit perfectly in these. Let's see if I can do this with one hand, with the little assist from the knee. And then you just kind of slide that in there and protect it. Keep Steelbooks and slip covers from getting scratched up and dinged. And if you guys are interested in these, this is the guy I have been going to for a couple years now. You can find him. He has a website and he sells on eBay. But his name is Dan Godkin. And you can find his information there if you want to go to retroprotection.com. And he has cases for everything you can think of. These VHS tape cases also came from Dan. And he has other ones too, taller, thinner ones for DVDs and oversized ones for like bigger Steelbook box sets and stuff like that. So you go check that out if you're interested in protecting your collectibles. Because I mean, let's face it, we pay a lot of money for the stuff that we buy, especially the slipcovers and the Steelbooks. And you might as well protect them. It's kind of important, especially if you're a collector and you have this stuff for years. You want to keep it protected. And the next pile we're going to get into, this is the laser disc that I picked up recently. This is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2-disc set with the gatefold. Not going to spend a lot of time on this because I did show it already. But I really love this. I think this is one of my favorite buys lately. For the price I got it, I thought I got a steal on that. And then some old school stuff. And you notice I have these nice protective sleeves on there. I'll tell you guys how to get those too. These are the 3mm plastic sleeves. They're a little bit thicker than the 2mm that they also sell. I have some 2mm in my collection too, on some of my LPs. But I find the 2mm to be kind of crinkly and they crease very easily. The 3mm is a little bit thicker and it just lays on there nice and smooth. And I recommend the 3mm. And you could probably get, I think, like 100 sleeves for like $30. So that's a steal. Anyway, getting back to the LPs now. These are original to the time period, which I think was the 70s. And Redd Foxx is my favorite comedian of all time. And there's a lot to choose from. My favorite era of comedy is 70s. I love Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Slappy White, Redd Foxx. But Redd Foxx is my favorite. Rodney Dangerfield. A lot of good comedy back then. And during this time period, late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s, HBO was pretty much in its infancy in the early 70s, and a lot of people didn't have cable back then. And what people did was they used to call these party records. And if people would have gatherings at their home, they would put a couple of, served drinks, hors d'oeuvres, dinner, whatever. They would put some of these records on and entertain the people. And they used to call Redd Foxx the king of the party record because he had a lot of albums that he put out. And if you guys stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you my collection on CD of all the Redd Foxx stuff I have. I'll kind of blaze through that really quick. But I have quite a few. Or enough anyway. But this is the original pressing. And the original, I put it in my own little sleeve, but it's still in cellophane, even though it has been opened on the side and they have listened to the record. They still kept the cellophane on. They just cut the end and slid it out. But I'm going to keep that on there. Usually when I get albums that have prior cellophane on it, I'll rip that off and put the new stuff on. But I kind of like the little retro stickers like that. So I'm going to leave this one on. And this one's called Both Sides of Redd Foxx. And the reason they called it that is because Redd Foxx had a television program called Sanford and Son where he was kind of he was a junk man, but it was a very clean episode or series because it was on TV. But when he was on stage as a comedian, he was very vulgar. So that was the Both Sides of Redd Foxx. So he kind of played on that for a little bit. But he was so funny. I'm going to leave my favorite Sanford and Son clip down below. It's very racy and very edgy. You would never be able to get away with what he says in this clip. You wouldn't be able to get away with it today at all. People would be up in arms, and I want you guys to go check this clip out. You'll laugh your ass off. But he was so funny. Actually, I'm going to put 2 clips because there's a Harlem Nights clip I want you to listen to also. And Harlem Nights was a great movie because you had 4 comedy legends in the movie. You had Redd Foxx, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, and Della Reese. And it's such a good movie. But I'm going to keep moving on. I have a couple more to show. I actually have 4 more Redd Foxx records coming, but I don't know when they're going to be here, so it'll be in the next update. This one's called Redd Foxx at Home. Sorry if I'm a little bit long-winded today. I've been bored. I need people contact. You know, I'm going crazy here by myself. I got my dogs here with me, but it's, you know, I did FaceTime with my son today, and it's not the same. But here's Redd Foxx, where it's at. Sorry. And the last Redd Foxx one is Doing His Own Thing. This one also had some retro stickers on I kept. It's not on the actual cardboard. There's some cellophane underneath the record sleeve I put on there. So I kept that because it looks pretty cool, and it's probably from the original, you know, when whoever bought this back in the 70s. It says White Front Records. I assume that's like a record shop or something. I try to keep that kind of stuff on whenever I can, just for kind of like a little memento from the past. And then the last album I bought was the Rolling Stones, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And this is their greatest hits. And a lot of the purists out there, the music collectors and the music fans, would probably call this cheating. You know, if you really love a band and you only get their greatest hits album. But you got to realize that the Rolling Stones have about 90 albums, and they have like 30 studio albums. I think they have like 30 live albums, and then they have like 20 some odd collaboration albums and singles, and I don't have a lot of room for all that stuff. And there's only, you know, I only like the Rolling Stones up to the early 70s. A lot of stuff after that was kind of garbage to me, but this early stuff from 64 to 71, this is pure gold. This might be the best record out there, in my opinion. It's got songs like Brown Sugar, Wild Horses, Gimme Shelter, Honky Tonk Woman, Satisfaction, Paint It Black, probably their best song, in my opinion, my favorite, Jumping Jack Flash, Street Fighting Man, You Can't Always Get What You Want, and more. I'm not going to go through them all. There's Sympathy for the Devil, that's another great one. Under My Thumb, I mean, I think this is a 2-record set. I'm not going to open it up though, but and this is the original. This is not a repressing. This is from the early 70s. So, and I'll give you guys a little information about these sleeves. Like I said, these are the 3mm sleeves. This is a guy I've been going to now for a couple years. The Midwest Music Source, made in the USA, and that's his email address at the bottom, or his website rather. And I think for 25 of these 3mm sleeves, and 3mm is actually a measurement, it's not short for millimeter, 3mm is actually a unit of measurement. So I would recommend the 3mm. You could probably get 25 of these for $10. They're pretty cheap, but they're worth it. You got to protect your stuff. So, and it basically just looks like this. It's just a sleeve. But they're heavy, and they're not crinkly, and you know, they don't get creased. So that's what I like about them. The 2mm, they're a little bit crinkly. All right, let me pause it here. I'll get out my Redd Foxx CDs if you guys want to tune in for that. Otherwise, thank you for checking out my stuff, and comment below, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, so here is my pile of Redd Foxx CDs. Like I said, it's a decent little pile. This isn't anywhere near all of his albums. I mean, he was another guy that put out a lot of different albums. But this is a fan-made CD. It was never officially released on CD. This is the Sanford & Son, kind of like the soundtrack. It does have an original LP record, but it never did have at least at the time I bought this, it didn't have one, but it turned out pretty good. I mean, the guy who did it, it just has kind of a generic paper sleeve, and he put the sticker of Redd Foxx on there, and it turned out pretty decent. You know, it has the junkyard theme and all that stuff, and has some hot takes and one-liners in there and stuff like that. Here is Mr. Hot Pants. Just going to go through these quick. And if there's anything you want to see more of, you can pause it. This one's called Whittle, Fiddle, and Diddle. This one's called Living on Credit. This one's Redd Foxx at Home. You just saw the album of this. This one's called I Ain't Lied Yet. This is a good one. They're all good, at least to me. I mean, he's my favorite by far. I do like Richard Pryor too. I think probably number 2 for me of this era anyway would be Rodney Dangerfield. But I really liked Mitch Hedberg, but he was more of a modern age comedian. He passed away too early. He was really good. I love Richard Pryor too. Best of Redd Foxx, kind of a compilation. That track there, 7, I Love Mexicans. He said that he got pulled over by a cop in Mexico. He got a parking ticket for parking on top of a Mexican, and then the cop said to him, "Didn't you see his tamale wagon?" And Redd Foxx said, "I didn't even know his fly was down." I guess you have to. He delivered it a lot better than I did. This one's called Live and Funny, recorded live in an LA nightclub. This is Live and Funny Volume 3. This was Volume 4. This is Volume 3. This one's Volume 2. Volume 1. And the last one, Prejudice. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments or questions or anything at all, go ahead and comment below. Take care, and I'll see you next time.